I was reborn on the day Landon Pierce was drugged. But this time, instead of being his antidote, I dialed the number of the woman he loved, Lydia Rowan. In my previous life, I had fallen for Landon, the man who raised me. When I found out he'd been drugged, I ignored his desperate plea to call his lover and ended up sleeping with him, becoming his antidote. A month later, I found myself unexpectedly pregnant. Landon was forced to marry me, but on the day of our wedding, his beloved woman was killed by kidnappers while abroad. Before her death, she tried to call him 199 times, begging for help. But Landon, preoccupied with the wedding, never answered a single call. Afterward, he stared at those 199 missed calls in silence, never speaking a word. Then, when I went into labor, he locked me in the basement. I begged him to take me to the hospital, but he just smiled cruelly, watching as I suffocated, unable to give birth. Just before I died, I heard him say, "If you hadn't gotten pregnant, I wouldn't have been forced to marry you. If you hadn't taken her place, I would have answered Lydia's calls. You deserve to die." When I opened my eyes again, I was back on the day Landon had been drugged. "Mira, hurry up and call Lydia." Hearing those familiar words again, I suddenly realized I had been reborn. Without a second thought, I grabbed my phone and dialed Lydia's number. Landon's face flushed red, his gaze burning as he looked at me. In my past life, I had made the mistake of giving in to that look, which led to my tragic end. This time, I turned away from his gaze and quickly left his room. "Landon, just hold on. Lydia will be here in 10 minutes. As I shut the door behind me, I heard him mutter my name through gritted teeth. But I pretended not to hear, firmly closing the door and standing guard outside. 10 minutes later, Lydia rushed in. She gave me a complicated glance, visibly relieved when she saw that I was dressed and untouched. Before stepping inside, she shot me a glance. "You can leave now. We don't need you here." I turned and headed upstairs, back to my room. It wasn't until the middle of the night that the downstairs room finally fell quiet. I exhaled deeply. In my previous life, my love for Landon had led me to become his antidote, and I had ended up pregnant with his child. He married me out of obligation, but on our wedding day, Lydia died unexpectedly, and he lost the love of his life. Then, he endured in silence until my due date, locking me in the basement. I begged him, willing to sacrifice my life for the child. That child was his, too, but he ignored my pleas, watching us both die horribly, all for the sake of avenging his beloved. This time, I had brought Lydia to be his antidote, and soon, I would leave, completely cutting ties with him. The next morning, Lydia appeared at the family's breakfast table. Landon took a bite of his sandwich, then casually announced, "From now on, Lydia is my girlfriend. I'll marry her, so be nice to her." He glanced at me, then pointed his fork at me. "Especially you. Be nice to my girlfriend."